Sunday liturgy. I remember when I was early adolescent, I guess, my stepdad came into my room on a Sunday, and I'm sure I was doing something pious that he interrupted. And he said, like, go cut the grass, or you need to cut the grass, or you didn't cut the grass on Thursday like I asked you to, or go pick up the yard. I forget what it was he asked me to do. But I said, it's Sunday. I'm not supposed to work on Sunday. And his response was, priests work all day on Sunday. And I thought, I don't have a response. I do now. I didn't have one then, so I got up and cut the grass. But what this article, or what this part of our Constitution sort of raised for me was more questions than answers, I think. It raised the question of, what are Sundays to you? What do they look like? What do Sundays look like to you? To a lot of college students, Sundays are the day of recovery from Saturday. To other people who overworked all week, it's Netflix and chill day. For the introverts, it's a grand excuse to be by yourself. So what is Sunday for you? What does it look like? I remember early on in Postulancy, Paul Cupp taught us when we were planning liturgies that we ought to keep in mind that it's a procession. That you shouldn't have incense and all the grand things the church offers to engage our senses on a ferial Monday liturgy. But that we see that throughout our week we're moving more and more by incorporating more and more into our liturgies, because Sunday is the solemnity of the resurrection of the Lord, and everything points to that and everything comes out of that. So do we see it as a procession? Is there a difference in our Monday and our Sunday? The Constitution suggests that joy and thanksgiving are central to this day because it's the day of the resurrection and of the celebration of the incarnation, the Franciscan feast. So we're celebrating not just the resurrection and the passion of the Lord on Sunday, but his incarnation, because those two are inextricably linked. I find joy and thanksgiving, or at least joy, pretty natural. I've always been a pretty joyful, upbeat person. It's not difficult for me to find joy. For some it is. And I recognize that. So I find this day a little easier on the joy account, but maybe not so good on the Thanksgiving account, because I get lost in the fun, rather than being thankful for the opportunity for it. So a lot of our Sunday's experience, I think, is tailored to our unique person and how we find joy and where we find joy and how we learn to give thanksgiving. One of the things that strikes me is that we dedicate Saturday to Our Lady. Now, the Constitution's further in this article suggests that we develop a devotion to her and spread a devotion to Our Lady. But one of the things I found interesting is that the reason the church suggests Saturday as the day of Our Lady is because it's the furthest day from Sunday. And so when we're so far from the next Sunday liturgy, that's when we're probably at our weakest. And so we turn to Our Lady. And we say, Our Lady, help me get to your Son. Help me get to tomorrow's liturgy. Help me get to the everlasting Sunday liturgy is ultimately what we're asking. We've all heard terms like put on your Sunday best. It's an interesting thing to watch how people live their Sundays. Do they do it through material things? So they go to the best of things. We put out our china, we put on our suits. That's a way of expressing the difference in today versus the rest of the day. How do I express the difference in my Sunday than the rest of the week? I don't often get up and begin my day with prayer. Confession. I begin it with coffee and conversation at the breakfast table. Why did God rest on Sunday? Was he pretty tired after hanging the sun and fixing the moon? I mean, was he just kind of baked? Well, why did he need to rest? And as I prayed about that, of why God asked us to make this day a day of rest, because he himself rested, is that he wasn't resting from something, he was resting in something. That is in the Trinity, that is in the Son. So when God rests, it's not that God rests from, exhausting activity, but rather he rests in the Beloved. So Sunday isn't just an absence of activities, but an intentional resting in something, not from something. So am I resting in the beloved? Am I resting in the Son? It is Sunday. So am I resting in the Son? Am I resting in Christ on Sunday? And if I'm not, then who do I rest on Sundays? I can tell you who I most often rested on Sundays. Myself, and sometimes you guys. Because I need to be outside of myself. It's pretty bad in here, so I need to be out here. So I don't rest always in the Son. I tend to rest in my comforts. I tend to rest in what Sunday can give me as far as relaxation goes, as far as pleasure goes. I don't have to do as much schoolwork. I don't have to be anywhere. That's all selfish. That has nothing to do with Jesus. That has nothing to do with Jesus. That's me. But Jesus is in there, and I need to learn how to find him. I need to learn how to rest in the Son. And even in that, Sunday becomes just another day of search and adventure rather than a resting in the Son. So me trying to rest in the Son, I turn that into an activity. That's what I hope you see that. I hope you see that the ways in which we try to get to Christ, we do it in such a way that we push him further away. Because it's not our effort. It's our openness. I noticed, if you all know, there's this pretty cultural phenomenon about how Chick-fil-A is not open on Sunday, and everybody's upset about this because it's Chick-fil-A, and we wish it were open on Sunday. But notice the witness that has to the world, to our culture, to a capitalistic culture, to profit by all means. You have a multi-billion-dollar business who closes one entire day of the week without revenue. What a witness that is. And yet, I can't stop long enough in me from what I want to do, need to do, have done, to just rest in the Lord. And I'm not a multi-billion-dollar industry. And they can do it. Does your Sunday, if I were to follow you around on Sunday and the rest of your week, would I notice a difference that's not accidental? Because our schedule in the house is different. That's not intentional on your part. We do what we're supposed to do. What in your Sunday is intentional from the rest of the week? We know when our Jewish brothers and sisters are observing the Sabbath, we notice that. How many people notice when Christians are observing the Sabbath? So as I buttress the first part against the Saturday as Our Lady, I'll end with this, as Our Lady sort of the furthest away from Sunday as our kind of aid and our help to get us through to the everlasting Sunday. I'd like to also do the other side that Sunday's in between, which is Monday. And I find it interesting that we have this Monday morning blues type phenomenon. And I'm sad on Monday. So I've just experienced the resurrection of the Lord the day before, and by the next morning I'm sad that I got to get up and go to school and do my papers and do my work. It doesn't carry me very far because I haven't rested very long. If it is truly the Son's day, we would rest. Or is it just some day for us?
Amen. Amen.